How do you think you played?
I don't think I played good. I don't think I played good at all. I think it's a lot of things, we need to look at, during the week and go and just get comfortable even throwing routes, with Jerry and throwing routes with all those guys. So I think that was my first ball to him all year. But other than that, I just think overall we just got to go next week and understand so then we have a week to prepare.
Nobody in Cleveland expected the moment to unfold the way it did. Cameras were rolling, reporters leaning forward, and a rookie quarterback sat there, acting like the entire weight of the franchise's latest disaster belonged on his shoulders. Shedeur Sanders didn't just look disappointed.
They just told him to keep his head up. I know there was one drive in which he kind of walked off, and I saw him, he was putting his head down. I know he was kind of thinking about, I know he wants to make the play. He wants to, have that game-changing drive because, he feels like he has that ability, and we've seen it. So don't be discouraged from one drive or two drives. It's a good football team over there. So just trying to keep him to keep his confidence high and keep on chasing that standard which he set. And we're going to continue to support him. He spoke after the game, and he wanted to pin it on himself and his performance, but we're not going to allow him to do that. It's a team game. So
he looked convinced that he alone had sunk the Browns against the Ravens. And the crazy part? He genuinely meant it. He thought he failed his team, the fans, the city. He thought the entire loss was somehow his personal responsibility. But the second that narrative started forming,
Hi, this is Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland.com after the Browns' 23-16 loss to the Ravens. What a football game that was. It was really, really exciting for fans. Unfortunately for Browns fans, it did not go their way in the end, but it almost did. And of course, the big news of the day is the fact that Shedeur Sanders finally made his NFL debut. He couldn't pull it out in the end. He had 3 chances to throw a 25-yard game-tying or game-winning touchdown pass and wasn't able to pull it off. But I do really honestly think that Shedeur Sanders will do much, much better.
Someone else in the building, someone who has survived every version of Cleveland chaos, saw exactly what was happening. Miles Garrett wasn't going to let another young quarterback get swallowed by the franchise's biggest curse. The uncontrollable instinct to blame the guy under center the moment anything goes wrong.
How's everybody doing?
How you doing?
Decent. First and foremost, I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to get out there. That's all you could ask for, honestly. The chance to get out there, get your feet wet, to experience how it feels, to even be out there with the team, with the first group, with everybody. So I'm truly was excited.
I think everyone was surprised to see him go to the 5th round. He's come to camp and OTAs with a great attitude. He's a hardworking guy. He has a good head on his shoulders. He's always positive, always optimistic, always keeps a smile on his face. And you like going to work with people who have that kind of attitude.
Before Shedeur could finish carving himself into the scapegoat, Garrett stepped in with a level of urgency you almost never see from a defensive superstar. Not anger, not frustration. Something heavier. Something that said, "Not this time." What made this moment explosive wasn't just what Shedeur said, it was the context behind it. The kid was thrown into an NFL game without a single first-team practice rep. Read that again. Not one rep with the starters. No timing with his receivers, no chemistry, no sense of game rhythm.
Always come out and say, I feel for Shedeur. I really do. He never thought in a million years this is the way he'd be born into the league. His draft is still, and always will be, I think. And I once upon a time saw a first-round pick fall in the draft because he was on the Pineapple Express with the videos showing about Larry B. Tunsil. I thought that was the strangest draft I've ever seen of a one player, but that just lasted half a night. Shedeur's, as we know, lasted 3 days, to the point where even my mom is asking, what's up with Dion's?
And who was the opponent? The Ravens. A defense that specializes in making fully prepared veterans look confused. Yet, here was a rookie forced into the fire, like someone being shoved onto an NFL stage with no rehearsal. expected to deliver a flawless performance while surrounded by chaos he didn't create. And still, the first words out of his mouth were, "It's on me." Miles Garrett heard that and immediately realized something dangerous was forming. Because this is exactly how Cleveland has destroyed quarterbacks for 20 years.
How did you think Shedeur handled everything that comes with first NFL start taking over versus a Ravens team?
Yeah, listen, we trust all of our guys. We trust our guys to perform. He's no different, and playing a backup quarterback role, as we've talked about over the years, that's tough to come in there, but we trust him. I know there's things that he's going to want to do better, but that's why we work.
They draft someone. They don't develop him. They don't protect him. They don't give him a system that fits. And when it all collapses, the organization steps backward and lets the quarterback blame himself.
I wanted to hop on here and talk about Shedeur Sanders and not what you think. The performance wasn't great. It needs to get better. He didn't have any help. Here's what I do want to say. And Luke McCown, Brian Hoyer, backup quarterbacks unite, right? Like, I feel like I'm very well placed to talk about this. Luke McCown sent out a tweet earlier. I'm gonna try to put it here. It's gonna be a lot of different parts. Just keep me going. Pretty much outlining everything that goes on within a backup quarterback's life, and just exactly what Shedeur Sanders, or really any backup, forget about just Shedeur for a second, any backup quarterback goes through.
Fans buy the narrative, media leans into it, and before long, the QB becomes a walking apology tour. Garrett has watched that cycle play out more times than anyone else on this roster. He's watched teammates turn into footnotes. He's watched talent waste away under bad preparation, bad planning, and bad leadership.
To rate his performance, it's probably like a D-. There's context to that, though. Let's not freak out. I also understand he's gotten very few, if any, reps in practice. He hasn't played with any of these starters. It's a super tough situation to come in cold, off the bench, in a game that you weren't expected to play in against the Ravens. You know, you're not playing against scrubs, so it's a tough spot. There's reasons for the struggle, but there's no denying it wasn't a great performance. Now, where it differs from like watching Dillon Gabriel play, one, he already has a longer pass play than Dillon Gabriel has.
So the second he saw Shedeur sinking into that emotional quicksand, he cut it off. Garrett's comments weren't just supportive, they were corrective. He saw Shedeur walk off the field with his head down after a tough drive, and instead of letting the rookie internalize it, he stopped him. He told him to keep his confidence high, reminded him of his ability, reminded him of what everyone has seen him do. It wasn't sugarcoating, it was protection, and everyone felt it. The locker room caught it. Reporters noticed. Fans watching the interview could feel the tone shift, because this wasn't a teammate comforting another teammate. This was the franchise cornerstone, stepping between a young quarterback and a narrative the Browns have historically weaponized.
Shedeur Sanders completed 4 passes. He was 4 for 16 for less than 50 yards. He is now the lowest rated quarterback in the history of the NFL. That is a fact, with a 13.5 rating. If you're a Shedeur fan, I'm telling you right now, if your rhetoric today is, yo, it's messed up, man. It's messed up. Yo, that's not, he didn't get a fair crack. No, he did. He did. From my main man, Shannon Sharp, to Ocho Cinco, to
Josina Anderson.
Who's like on his payroll, it seems like, right?
Yeah.
You can't defend what he did yesterday.
Shedeur wasn't making excuses. He wasn't blaming the coaches. He wasn't deflecting responsibility. He simply believed he failed. And that's the part that hit Garrett harder than anything. Because Garrett knows what the real problem was. Shedeur was sent into a heavyweight fight with no training camp sparring, no rhythm with the offense, and no warm-up rounds. It wasn't his failure, it was the systems. And the second Shedeur tried to put the entire burden on himself. It felt like witnessing the opening scene of a story Cleveland has written far too many times. But Garrett was not going to be a supporting character in that tragedy again. The Browns have a history that almost defies logic. Quarterback after quarterback enters the building with promise, only to be eaten alive by mismanagement, inconsistency, and complete structural confusion.
And just for him. And that's probably going to happen this week as they head out to face the Raiders in Las Vegas, because Dillon Gabriel is in the concussion protocol, and I just think there's a very, very good chance that Shedeur Sanders is going to start this game. Now, if Dillon clears, he'll be back out there. But I think at this point, that is a long shot. So what needs to happen? Shedeur needs to get into practice and take his first practice snaps with the first team offense. He hasn't done that before. We've been harping on it all season long that he has taken no reps with those starters. So that's the first thing that will happen. And then they will devise a game plan that will maximize his strengths and help him to...
It's not that these quarterbacks lacked skill. Many had talent. But talent without development is like a Ferrari with no engine. It looks great until you actually need it to move. And that's exactly how Shedeur's situation was shaping up. Fans online were already turning the debut into a meme. Analysts were ripping him apart. Broadcasters were listing stats not to inform, but to embarrass. The narrative machine was revving up, ready to do what it always does, crush a quarterback before he ever has a chance. And Garrett saw it forming in real time. He knew the danger of letting this story snowball. The moment a quarterback begins to believe he is the entire problem, he stops playing fearless and starts playing scared.
Say anything you want about Shedeur Sanders' debut in the NFL, but let me just say, for one, the Ravens, even though they're 4-5, they're a great team nonetheless, so that's one. But then two, you expect this dude to ball out in his debut even though he's been sat all this time? Very smart, okay. But not only that, people are really acting like he did this bad. Now don't get me wrong, this is a terrible stat line, but let me just put it out there that there were at least 3 passes that would have been key in their game-winning drive that his receivers literally had in his chest and arm and hand and literally dropped it. Easiest routine catches.
The narrative machine was revving up, ready to do what it always does, crush a quarterback before he ever has a chance. And Garrett saw it forming in real time. He knew the danger of letting this story snowball. The moment a quarterback begins to believe he is the entire problem, he stops playing fearless and starts playing scared. He starts hesitating. He starts overthinking. He stops trusting himself. Quarterbacks don't fail because they're not skilled. They fail because they lose confidence. And confidence dies fastest in a culture that lets blame flow downhill. Garrett refused to let Shedeur become another casualty. Not because Shedeur is perfect. Not because the performance was secretly good. Not because Garrett is being overly protective. But because Shedeur didn't fail. He never had a real chance to succeed. He never got a first-team practice. He never worked with the receivers he was supposed to throw to. He never operated the offense with game-speed chemistry.
Now who will we blame? Is it Shedeur Sanders not looking prepared, or perhaps maybe the Browns not having him well enough prepared?
I'm definitely blaming Kevin Stefanski and his offensive coordinator. What the hell is going on? You know what? Listen, you're the QB too. Shouldn't you have reps? Correct me if I'm wrong. Listen. We watched a lot of quarterback play over the years. We've seen people inept. We understand limited skill level and stuff like that. What's rare to see is a quarterback that looked grossly ill-prepared.
Throwing him into a real NFL game with zero preparation was like asking someone to do brain surgery because they watched a couple medical documentaries. And once again, he still wanted to take the blame. That's the part that said everything. The kid is built with leadership instincts, but leadership without boundaries becomes self-destruction. And Garrett, an actual leader, knew that better than anyone. As the questions kept coming, reporters fishing for a headline, Shedeur kept leaning into the accountability angle, and Garrett kept shutting it down. He wasn't being dismissive, he wasn't being soft, he was being strategic. Because if the Browns were allowed to let another rookie quarterback take the blame for their preparation failures, the franchise would never change. What made this moment fascinating was how emotionally raw Shedeur was. He wasn't angry. He wasn't dramatic. He was disappointed in himself in a way only players who deeply care about their craft feel. He wanted to be the hero. He wanted to win the game. He wanted that storybook debut. And instead, he got thrown into a nightmare. But instead of pointing out the obvious, that he was unprepared because of the coaching staff, he covered for everyone around him and tried to wear the entire loss like a backpack full of cement. And Garrett wasn't letting it happen. Because Garrett knows something Shedeur doesn't. Once you let the Browns make you the fall guy, you never stop being the fall guy. That's the danger. That's the trap. That's the reason Cleveland quarterbacks flame out before their careers ever begin. Garrett wasn't defending mediocrity. He was defending potential. He was defending long-term development. He was defending the future of a team that has been drowning in its past for far too long. And whether he intended to or not, he might have ignited the first real cultural shift the Browns have needed in years.
Kevin Stefanski to say the first time that Shedeur Sanders had taken a snap with
Yes.
the starters, with
Yeah.
the ones, was in this game, is
Yeah.
malpractice. At no point in time, and this is what I
Yeah.
said, Ocho, so at no point in time, so you don't think Dylan Gabriel could possibly get hurt. He can't possibly bring a knee, bring a shoulder, get concussion. There's no possible way anything could possibly
Right.
go wrong that you want to get Shedeur like 1 rep with the ones, 2 reps with the ones. I ain't saying split it 50-50. I understand that. But even when John was taking the majority of the reps, John, if we did 10 reps in a period, the back